Greetings and salutations, gamers. Welcome to Cast Co-op, the podcast in which three podcast hosts cast together. I am one of your hosts, Luke Lore, the insipid ghost and host of the Xbox Expansion Pass, joined by my big brother and yours, host of Season Gaming's Bitcast, Mr. Ainsley Bowden.
What is happening, fine people? It's good to be back. It's been too long. We had some interruptions. Luke had to go and get COVID, he's just inconsiderate, Joe. He doesn't think about Cast Co-op or there's fans or anything else. You know what I mean?
And I think he still got it because he still looks sickly.
Yeah? You think?
Yeah.
They send you back to work too early, and I have special eye drops for my eyes.
Yeah,
and they still
not working.
It's not working. Yeah.
Is it the help with the bright lights during the daytime?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's
Okay.
what it is. No, I'm trying to get rid of this thing. It's painful.
I get it.
I get
it.
Is that your second time with it?
COVID?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yes. I had it in January 2020 where you didn't know what it was.
Okay.
You do the strep test, the flu test, you do everything, but it was identical symptoms, and we got very fortunate because there were some tough times the first time around. But this one, thanks to vaccinations and cough suppressants, I'm back on the mend faster, I guess you could say. But it's definitely got me. Like, I got the fog, muscle mass went down, didn't eat, tasted nothing for a little while. So, but I'm back and very fortunate to be where I'm at. So
cool.
I'm happy.
Cool.
I would be remiss rather if I did not introduce Mr. Joseph Moran, host of the Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast. A podcast, by the way, which has been firing on all cylinders of late. And I should note that same thing about Bitcast. You guys have been absolutely crushing it. It's been really cool to be stepped back from afar. You guys are both crushing it on your separate ends of content creation, and bravo.
Go to hell.
Okay.
I was gonna say something nice for a change, but
no, thank you, man. It's a lot of hard work, especially last few weeks has been pretty rough. But this week it looks like we finally got a really big win, so it's nice. Feels huge. You know what it is? It feels good to actually talk about video games.
Like news, like real news,
like
not speculation.
Yeah, not speculation. Like 1/3 of this podcast, y'all, will be about speculation because it's YouTube SEO. But like the next, like the 2/3 of this show, gonna be really great. The 1/3, brace for it. But like once you get past that part, it's gonna be great.
So why is PlayStation dead?
Well, that's a great question. Jim Ryan and his cats have completely destroyed that company. Yeah.
Well, we should recap because it has been a bit of a time for us. We've had Xbox's Tokyo Game Show presence. Nintendo had a Nintendo Direct. PlayStation had a State of Play that was pretty darn packed. Jim Ryan called out Phil Spencer, and I don't mean that in like some grandiose, exaggerant way, but he absolutely dropped Phil Spencer's name and such, and called the Activision deal inadequate. There's been a genuine
fighting words where I come from, Luke.
On a Twitter space and in social media, but it was.
I would have much rather that's like saying like you fucked my mother type of thing,
Yeah. Well, for an executive to say something like that felt very beneath them, I guess you would say. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
I felt like it lowered the conversation's barrier to entry.
Especially considering he said something like there were some mistruths, so I want to set the record straight or something. Like, he basically said Phil was lying in so many words, and it's like you don't hear CEOs talk like that. It's weird.
No, it felt odd, and it was odd to me, especially to see the implication that a 3-year offer for non-exclusivity, no matter what, in 3 years to me is an eternity in the gaming world. I feel what was somehow not good enough in a world where companies, first parties, attempt to gobble up exclusives all the time.
Yeah.
And there's a precedent that Microsoft has owned big platforms before, i.e. Minecraft, and it hasn't been detrimental to gamers or inadequate or whatnot. So it, to me, felt far more shallow, I think, than a business executive arguing business. One might argue, though, that it's exactly what's needed to cast doubt in the eyes of a deal. Ains, what did you think on that one?
I thought it was strange, man. to me, I try to read between the lines with stuff like this because CEOs often, and Phil is excellent at this as a CEO, is he says stuff without saying it, right? And he gets his point across in a very kind of menial and direct way while sounding pleasant about it, even if the end result's not going to be as pleasant as he sounds. There's a whole thing that goes into messaging when you're an executive, right? And Phil is excellent at it. I don't think Jim Ryan is very good at it. And we've joked about that before, but it was weird to see Jim make statements like this. And I think it shows two things primarily. One, it shows that I think, and I posted this on Twitter, right? Like, if I know people realize that Call of Duty is this massive game, right? Like everyone knows that, right? It's Call of Duty. But I don't think, unless you kind of are really into the shit like we are a lot of times when we're talking about this stuff, they don't realize just how big Call of Duty is. Like, Call of Duty is a global phenomenon that makes billions and billions and billions of dollars every year. Not like, I'm not talking about lifetime, like every year it makes billions of dollars. And it is, I think it's pretty crucial. It has been a crucial part to PlayStation over the past several years, and their annual marketing around it and exclusive kind of skins and little things here and there is a big deal for PlayStation players. So I think it shows that this is a bigger concern. When Activision Blizzard got announced earlier this year, it was like, wow, this is crazy. We were all blown away, but I don't think the weight of that had set in yet of what it would really mean in the future. And I think that's coming to light. Two, in my opinion, and it shouldn't, but this demonstrates publicly that Jim is legitimately concerned about this deal and that he recognizes that the inevitability of Microsoft's weight in the industry due to Big Daddy Microsoft's money, right? Call it what it is. But that this long term is going to have an impact on PlayStation, a negative impact. And of course it will. It's one of the biggest IPs in the world, and you're talking about it going away from the biggest platform holder or console maker, whatever you want to call them. So that should be pretty obvious, but you can see the cracks and the panic there about that, because no matter what you think, PlayStation has fantastic first parties. They're building live service games. We've talked about that, right? They're investing heavily in it. And I would never want to say out loud that PlayStation can't build a Call of Duty competitor, because someone will eventually, maybe. Well, Fortnite is one, right? But I don't think that PlayStation can build a Call of Duty competitor. They said it, right? They cannot build a competitor to this IP. Sorry, I've talked for a while, but yeah, I think it those two things primarily is what this showed.
So do you think
there was a lot to unpack, boys. I apologize.
There's a lot. Oh, we're bringing it back. Oh my God, we're informed.
Joe, do you think it showed weakness or was the right move for Jim Ryan's part?
I don't think it so my opinion on this is different. Follow me here.
Yeah, I saw you shaking your head. What you got?
I don't think it really matters what it shows of PlayStation or Jim. I think Jim has an opportunity to alter this deal, and he's going to take this opportunity to alter this deal. He wants a guarantee that's longer than 3 years. It could be 3 years and a day, and he's going to try his best to make sure that Call of Duty is there long enough to where they can soften that blow, because Ains is right. Call of Duty is huge. It's like your Maddens and your FIFAs, right? It's making billions of dollars every year. The impact is I think the thing that is in question of what could happen to the market with this Call of Duty deal if I'm one of the regulators. And I think that's probably what's going down if I was just guessing and kind of just just guessing. So for me, I just kind of feel like it doesn't matter if I feel like Jim Ryan comes off like a boo-boo crybaby. It's him just going and throwing a wrench in the cog to see if he can't get a better deal, because he is right. Like or I think his motive is they can't rip Call of Duty from under us in 3 years, right? When this deal ends, they're going to have to extend it, because there are tens of millions of people that play Call of Duty on PlayStation. Microsoft would look like a bad guy if he did that or if they did that, right? So Jim knows that what Microsoft's plan is probably is, okay, so we're going to wean people off of PlayStation by just offering them the better deal. Because if most casual gamers buy FIFA, Call of Duty, and Madden, and that's it, well, if we could just show, hey, here's Call of Duty for, $15 a month versus 70, you're going to see people swing back to the Xbox side of things, the very casual player. I think that's the thing that scares PlayStation is we're thinking about this right now, and we're not actually thinking about the effects of this 6 years from now. So Jim's seeing that going, okay, if I can try to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation for as long as I can, I'm going to. And I think this also highlights a really big problem within PlayStation, which is they have rusted on their laurels when it comes to multiplayer, and they need to change that. Because they've had Call of Duty, quote unquote, those exclusive deals. Because they've had that, they've been able to just crank out some of the most, to me, amazing single player content that I've played in the last 8 years.
Hard to argue, even on an objective sense, given like Metacritic and such.
Yeah, and so when I take a look at what they don't have, it's multiplayer that we truly care about. They don't have any. I love Last of Us Factions.
I won't have you talk about Destruction All Stars in this light.
I'm so sorry. You're right. They came out with a new character. I don't know.
Did they?
But like, gotta. But like that's Sony's problem. So to me, it's them buying time until they can find not their Call of Duty, but what I said on the trophy room the other week is their Splatoon. Their game that is big within that ecosystem that kind of helps soften that punch of losing a Call of Duty. And maybe that game's Factions, but that's what he's trying to do. And the cattiness is like, does this make PlayStation perceived to be weak? Sure, but like in the grand scope, who's analyzing it? We are the super hardcore. Most casual gamers, they don't know, don't care, and they don't know anything that's going on right now, or they don't even know who Phil Spencer is.
Nope.
Yeah,
and I think lost on people is it's Jim Ryan's job to attack this. Now the way that he does it is up to him and his business, and gamers should spend their money accordingly if they do or don't like something in the practice. And I mean, I'll argue. I mean, to me, it felt very hypocritical from the outside looking in. But what does that mean? It's his job is not to be fair, nor is Phil Spencer's job to be fair. And how many times have Xbox gamers requested politely and indignantly that Xbox toss their weight around and fight a little dirty? How many times have Nintendo gamers been frustrated with online or the way that Nintendo handles managing its creators and its games? And so none of these companies' jobs is to be fair. In fact, I would argue that puts them in a position of weakness in many ways. But I think back to your comments about PlayStation and wanting to have a multiplayer element. And then I think about the attempts they've made on that during the PS4 era. Nobody remembers Killstrain. I got the platinum, but I enjoyed it. But it was like a toss away, get away game. David Jaffe had that one like Drawn to Death game, I think it was.
Yeah.
And there were several other attempts and shuttered studios and games in the multiplayer space. And quite seriously, I think that's why Bungie was the acquisition it was. The goal, the attempt being to bring something that is synonymous with PlayStation and multiplayer. It's not going to be, Bungie's pretty darn independent, all things considered, even with this new Sony deal. But to argue of softening the blow and having something in their pantheon to teach their other developers, I think that's the nature of the Bungie deal. And if Call of Duty is to be destined for Xbox, and not necessarily exclusively, certainly you'll see Game Pass perks and the like. And that to me is no different than when Bungie struck up deals with Sony and they had exclusive strikes or guns or skins, etc. And Call of Duty does the same thing. Maps come exclusively or ahead of time and such. To me, it's the same thing. And that's where I think I got a little bit salty as a customer. I was like, well, wait a minute. Why is that okay, but not this or that? But in the end of the day, it's his job to get the best deal for his people. Be mad at Square Enix for not being willing to be on both platforms. Be mad at Bungie for taking the deal. And I say be mad at, there was a financial element. They did what they wanted to do, their business. So it goes.
Yeah, I think you guys are nailing it. There's two aspects that are very simple to remember here. Is one, that this is business and Jim is the caretaker for Sony Interactive Entertainment, and he'll do whatever he can, regardless of what he personally looks like doing it, to do exactly what you guys are saying. And the flip side is also true, right? Microsoft and Xbox obviously are spending $70 billion on this deal. They will honor all existing kind of contracts that they have to honor, just as they had with other acquisitions and other companies do from a legal sense. But they don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
If it's at the end of the day, if this acquisition goes through kind of untouched, and I know we've talked, again, I'll bring up Hogue because he's really good about breaking this stuff down and what kind of concessions can be made and what could change in the deal and stuff. But assuming it goes through, basically unfiltered in the sense that, they honor existing contracts and that's it. There's no other concessions that have to be made for it to be approved. Microsoft can do whatever the hell they want. I don't see why this would be a surprise to anyone.
Yeah.
It is what it is. And I think PlayStation, to Joe's point, has languished on the multiplayer side. I can't tell you how many people I know, and this is anecdotal, of course, but just call their PS4 at the time and now the PS5 their exclusive machine. Still do. I was just playing a game with my friend earlier. He's like, my PS5 has turned into my exclusive machine again. And I said, yeah, me too. But, I want a reason to turn it on for like a live service active game. And they're building them, but it's not going to be Call of Duty. It's just not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Call of Duty, like I said. And one last point on that is, and I know I've talked Halo way too much lately.
Oh boy. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I was not invited to your panel, COVID or not. I was upset.
Okay. So no, in all seriousness, the reason I didn't invite both of you is because we're having this conversation tonight the same week. That's why.
Fair.
I'm shooketh.
I only bring it up to say that because me, I'm looking at like what's most played on Xbox Live and these things, and what you notice, right, is that the most played games, the top 10 by far, are all third-party games that are on all platforms, because cross-play is so widespread now compared to how it used to be, and so many people play on different devices. You guys play together all the time on different devices, right? Yeah. And I play with friends on PC, on Halo, etc. So the games that are at the top, the Fortnites, the Apexes, the Minecrafts, the Robloxes, right? They're all games that people can play anywhere and play together. So I only bring that up to say that even if PlayStation creates a hit, let's say that Factions is an amazing multiplayer game in the Last of Us universe from Naughty Dog, and I'm looking forward to it personally. But it's just not going to reach those same heights. It's just not.
Yeah. And for me, it just makes PlayStation have to make weird and creative choices. And that's the thing that excites me. This is going to put PlayStation on its toes, searching for something that they can bring to the table. And I think that's great at the end of the day. This is when all is said and done, will concessions be made? Probably. But what will it look like? Who knows? Mm-hmm. But I hate the middle school drama that a lot of creators have taken with this, because I think, Luke, what you nailed pretty well was like, well, we've seen a lot of people yell at Square Enix of like, well, where's this game on Xbox? It's like, well, because you didn't buy it on Xbox. Mm-hmm. I always bring up Kingdom Hearts 3. Like, over 80% of sales on that game at launch were of PlayStation 4. That's why you're not seeing this game on Xbox. Mm-hmm. It's not just putting a game on Xbox doesn't magically mean more sales or sales that are going to offset the development of that game ported over. So
especially in the Xbox One era, where they were outsold by a ratio of at least 2-1.
Yeah. So like I totally, and at the same exact flip of the coin, I totally understand why PlayStation looks incredibly hypocritical, because they do this a lot with a lot of games. Yeah. But I would argue some games would not exist without that Sony money. Like Arcane has publicly said Deathloop would not be out if it wasn't for Sony. Same with Ghostwire, and right now we're seeing it with Stellar Blade.
Blade. Yep.
So there are some, though Final Fantasy VII was going to get made without PlayStation. There are some reasoning behind doors that isn't just because Sony wants to keep something from Xbox. It's because maybe they see something really special with a thing.
Of course.
So again, I understand it. It's at the end of the day, it's business. Both Phil and Jim have an obligation to their shareholders first and foremost, and that's what both of them are doing. I'm just interested looking at this, that there's going to be further investigations, especially coming out of the UK and the EU. I'm wondering what that means as well. And, just speculation here. If Microsoft was kind of not caught off guard, but how prepared they were if that happened. That's the only thing that I'm thinking of. I think this goes through no problem. But
and without pretending to be experts on the subject, there's a simple logic behind the idea that $1 trillion company with all their legal resources would not enter into the potential of a deal without being prepared for counter arguments, right?
They're not Eloning it. They got their bean counters,
Exactly. Yeah, it's not a shot at the hip type approach to things. And sometimes I think we in the content creation space fall into the thinking we know everything, when in all likelihood it's not a tit for tat type thing. It's a mapped out progression of a deal.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of chatter we've seen on this, which is just absurd, right? But sorry, I lost my train of thought. I was going to say that the fuck was I going to say?
I don't know.
Chatter.
I was going to say to Joe's point, I'm sorry, because the chat asked it too, Mo, and Google asked is, I mean, on the surface, right, it is kind of a hilarious, not only timing, but PlayStation does these exclusive deals all the time. And it is kind of hilarious timing with literally an exclusive PlayStation beta about to begin tomorrow for Call of Duty. I mean, that's just comic. You can't write that kind of comic or that comedy, right?
And an exclusive game, or a formerly exclusive game, coming to Xbox on September 20th in the way of Deathloop.
Yeah,
that's owned by Play. I mean, like, it's like
that was developed by Xbox,
right?
Yeah. It's just it's a strange industry, and what you're seeing at the end of the day, in my opinion, anyway, is that we've talked for years about the industry's growing and revenue is higher than it's ever been, and all of the big three are growing, and Tencent and Embracer and all these companies. What you're seeing is a niche industry for geeks like us turn into a global, multi-hundred billion-dollar industry, and it's changing the business of video games. And I don't think gamers, especially old heads like me who have been around, forever with the Atari and stuff, it was never like this before. At least it wasn't like this publicly. But between the social media age and how much money there is to be made and how much the video game industry is evolving that business, you're seeing the kind of, usually things that might have been hidden from public view, or the things that went on in back rooms. God, I can't speak tonight, guys. You're seeing that out in public. And this is not going to be the end of it. Not even just for the Activision Blizzard deal, right? But there's going to be plenty of other things that go on that gamers are going to be like, well, they did this and they did this and they're yelling, and that's business. I mean, all you have to do, look at car companies, look at tech companies, look at the mobile cell phone industry. I mean, just look across. That's what gaming is going to become. And all we have to hope is that we continue to get awesome games.
Game Talk in the chat. By the way, shout out to everybody in the chat that came and joined us on such short notice. You guys. We really appreciate it, guys. Earlier in the chat, Game Talk was mentioning, or asked the question rather, is COD, who can unseat COD in terms of like sales? Is Rockstar the only company that could do it? And I think there's some logic to it, but then you mentioned Tencent, and I immediately, my mind's jumping to Fortnite and Roblox and other experiences that are not necessarily sales based. They're free to play, free to enter, but the revenue they generate, it far exceeds Call of Duty. Call of Duty.
I would say something. Mobile. Yeah, I would say something even further.
Listen.
Okay, good. Because I don't want you to listen because you're dumb. You're making me dumb every time.
No.
You're a dummy making me dumb every time you talk.
Exactly. Big dumb. But no, nothing needs to unseat. The only thing that's going to unseat Call of Duty is constant complacency. Like, Call of Duty is a machine, and the people that love it are going to love it. Mm-hmm. Right, and keep that thing alive. Look at every time there's a bad Call of Duty, like, is this going to be the last Call of Duty? Is Call of Duty losing steam? And then they bring out Modern Warfare 2, and you're like, oh no, everything's fine.
You could argue that the last 2 years were exactly what you said. Cold War and Vanguard were not received generally well, and yet. If you watch that presentation today, their Call of Duty Next, which we can touch on if you want, because I'm very interested in Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2. It's fucking incredible, what's coming. They're gonna dominate the industry this fall.
Can we just change it? Because I haven't seen anything of it. Could you let me in on it?
Yeah. So they did a live event today, Call of Duty Next, where they previewed. They officially unveiled, even though we knew it was coming, Warzone 2.0. Which is just a terrible name, isn't it? Warzone 2.0, they showed more Modern Warfare 2. They showed the gunsmith feature, but really the focus was Warzone 2 for the most part, and Warzone Mobile, which, I care less about, but Warzone 2. And they have a bunch of the popular streamers and whatever playing it live, one of those kind of live, arena events. But Warzone 2 is launching November 16th. It is the biggest Call of Duty map ever made in history. It's launching on across all platforms, crossplay, all that stuff, free to play. They mentioned that Warzone 1 crossed 125 million players, and they expect Warzone 2 to be higher than that for good reason. If you saw it, it looks freaking incredible. It has maps. What we talked about, we hope the Halo BR would have. It has like classic Call of Duty multiplayer locations within the Battle Royale map. It has airport. It has terminal. I'm forget some names right now. It has underwater combat. It has like crazy vehicle design, and it's just got very extensive. You need to watch the presentation. It's really impressive. And it also, they did formally announce today it's going to have the DMZ mode. So kind of like Tarkov, which is very popular on PC, which is a PvP/PvE mode, which you guys might really like. Because you said you love Warzone and Halo 5, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's going to be a mode where it's, teams of PvP with a lot of PvE on the map, and you can like play it in different ways and extract off the map. And all of that is launching on November 16th for free. And it's going to align, it's realigning with the core Call of Duty release, which of course this year is Modern Warfare 2, which alone is going to be bonkers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So all the features, the skins, the whole Gunsmith 2.0 system, like everything you do in your account profile is across Warzone 2 and Modern Warfare 2.
Jesus.
Now, all of that sounds incredible, Ains. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I even cut you off from telling me more stuff. But
there's more, but I don't want to ramble. Yeah.
Well,
go to seasongaming.com. We have a summary up for you right now. Thank you.
My question, because I almost went to where I went before the show.
No. This is a different one.
Oh, okay. All right. I was summary. Like, is it? My curiosity now is every year Call of Duty is able to spin it like it's their next best thing. I even go back to mentally like the reveal for Call of Duty Ghosts. Remember that?
Yeah, man.
That's a good example, but it consistently feels like that. Now,
always
fully admit, I sat out of Vanguard on principle for some of the way Activision was handling things. And it was an easy thing to do because I wasn't really interested in the time period. It wasn't Modern Warfare 2. There were other games I wanted to play in that realm. And I'm now excited for Modern Warfare 2. And trying to examine my own choices, make sure I'm not being hypocritical. But like, even if so, I'm in on this one. But every year they tell me it's God's gift. It's kind of like the Madden. Oh, this year in Madden we added. It's like, no, you didn't.
So I would say two things. I would say one is that it's a combination of Infinity Ward, which wherever you stand on the studios, Infinity Ward has impressed lately, right? A Modern Warfare reboot from 2019 is the best-selling Call of Duty of all time. So that shows you how popular Modern Warfare is. it's not a remake of the original Modern Warfare 2. I still see people saying that. It's not. This is a new game that is a continuation of Modern Warfare from 2019.
Which is great, by the way.
Yeah, yes.
Love that.
And it is their top tier kind of development. Vanguard, if you go back, both Vanguard and Cold War, actually, if you go back through the development history of those games, they're a mess because they were kind of swapping teams in and out, and the timeline got screwed up. Vanguard was not originally supposed to release until this year. And they moved it forward because remember they backed Sledgehammer's game out and it got all screwy. So what I would say is that I'm agreeing with you. I didn't play Vanguard or Cold War full release. I played the betas and stuff, but I agree with you, Luke. I seem to revisit Call of Duty every few years when they get it right. But I think I've seen enough and I know enough about the development to make a well-educated guess that Modern Warfare 2 is going to blow the doors off, not only in terms of like the game being quality, but I think the combination of Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 are, like I said earlier, literally going to dominate this fall. And by dominate, I mean not only sales, but streaming, YouTube videos. It's going to be everywhere. It looks like that good.
And that's why PlayStation's dead.
And the other thing to keep in account, I saw someone else, and I've been saying this on the damn Halo streams, is you hear people say like, this is what Halo Infinite needed to be. And I don't even disagree with that, but this is what 8 studios and several thousand developers, quite literally, several thousand developers will do for you. They can create this, right? It's going to be a global phenomenon. And 343 is not working with even a percentage of that. So you get what you get.
And separate conversation, but I would argue as the flagship franchise, they should be getting more than the percentage than they currently have. Because
I have yelled about that on every show I've been on about Halo recently. Yes.
Good, because I was going to go at you for over defending Halo lately.
You haven't. If you think I'm over defending, you haven't watched the shows I've been on.
And that's fair because I've been down and out.
You're a fake fan, Luke.
Really and truly, I've been down and out. So I was curious. That's why I didn't go after, because I wanted to know, and I haven't had a chance to watch. So genuinely stating,
we've been critical. In fact, I would say that I was, even on the Defining Duke show we did, I would say that I was still critical, and I was the least critical of the 4. The other guys really went at them. But in the panel we did for Season Gaming earlier on Tuesday,
wasn't invited.
Well, we could talk about it right now. That's the point. Is that I was critical. You son of a bitch.
Oh, whoa. Okay, listen.
You're not invited to the next one. I can tell you that much.
Oh, hot damn. Hey guys, have you seen this? Have you looked at this? Oh, shoot.
I've looked at a black screen. What do we?
It's a Bloodborne wallpaper and the new iOS update.
You got to let it go, shit. Joe. You
really are botching this whole thing, Joe.
No, stop. But you see, like I made the clock red because it's like the blood moon.
Every time Joe talks about Bloodborne, I'm bringing up Crackdown.
Just saying, like it looks nice.
This is true.
If I remember correctly, Ain stood up and said, "Fuck the Halo haters," and threw a Master Chief helmet at his camera. That's right. You don't understand.
You know
I threw Pablo's helmet because he never wore it.
Oh, Pablo.
Nor did he wear pants.
Oh, shit. Oh gosh, season 2.
New writers. There's new writers.
Look, there's hope. There was promise in there, but still,
fingers crossed.
Yeah, fingers crossed. And you know what sucks is I like Pablo. I think he's a good chief. It's
Pablo's awesome.
Writing.
Yeah.
I had 2 anecdotal moments this week that I thought were really interesting in terms of casual gamers. One of my students came up and was like, "Mr. Lore, I got Vanguard." And he started telling me all about playing Call of Duty Vanguard. And I was like, well, that's really cool. And like, he started telling me he was into it. And I was like, that's the power of Call of Duty. This kid was so stoked for it. And like, he's into games. It was just an interesting thing that he suddenly got into. And then quite separately, an adult of our age at his coach's meeting this evening came up to me and goes, "Hey, Lore, you doing the gaming podcast thing?" I said, "Yeah, man, what's up?" He goes, "You played that new Halo?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then we started talking, and then he realized I knew about it. This dude's so up to date. He was like, "And in the weekly this week's a visor. What's that about?" And he starts talking about the yappening, and I'm talking about Big Team Battle. And it was just a funny anecdote that like the kid was like Call of Duty Vanguard, and here's this dude that's our age, and he's like, "Yo, you play the yappening event in Halo Infinite?" I was like,
which is a lot of fun, by the way.
It is a really good time. Yeah, it's a really good time. It's basically
Right.
Fiesta Big Team, Joe, and it's a little bit more refined than that, but like as a general understanding, that's how it works.
They have a game mode called Sprockets, which is literally just rockets and skewers endlessly on big team maps with 24 people. So it's literally just chaos the whole time.
I love it. I love it.
Genuinely a fun mode, for sure. Sure. Bad weeklies though. Bad weeklies. Boys, can I just tell you, Call of Duty be damned, Halo, whatever, don't care. I'm excited for on Xbox Game Pass to play GoldenEye multiplayer. It's coming back. Here I am.
You're being sarcastic, right?
What? What do you mean? Well, how could I be being sarcastic? GoldenEye the Legend returns to online play. How could I not be excited about this? Joe, you look dead inside. What's wrong?
I can't tell if you're being sarcastic.
Oh, you can't? Oh, yeah, I'm totally being sarcastic. Yeah. I think it's hilarious. You couldn't
tell?
We
hadn't talked about it offline, so I didn't know if you're being serious, because there are people that are really excited, and I'm like, you're going to be so disappointed.
Well, the joke here, for anyone that couldn't pick up my sarcasm, I'm sorry, we're going to blame it on COVID, is that GoldenEye has been remastered in many ways, or something or another, updated, and the only online version that you'll be able to play is going to be on Nintendo Switch. The Xbox Game Pass version will not be updated. And my argument was that like nobody was going to play that anyway at all. Like you're going to play it twice. Who cares? And then hold on to Game Positive. I can't even read that. It's like 6 hieroglyphics in it. Oh, I get it. He's on my side. Yeah, go Game Positive. The irony is like no one's going to play this thing. And I got some angry tweets from like
Did you really?
I mean, like they were passionate. That's what I was looking forward to most. Really?
That's why I couldn't tell if you were being sarcastic. I didn't know if you were one of those.
You got a new Zelda game, and that's the thing you walked out with?
I was confused by that so hardcore. It's like the multiplayer. Like, I'm stoked to play GoldenEye, but like nostalgic trip, I probably won't finish it. Right?
Yeah, I promise you, as soon as these people play this game, they're not going to last more than 10-15 minutes.
I'll let the menu music go forever, though.
Hard. Absolutely. Now, does that version, and I know this is supposed to be just a tangent, but does it give you another analog stick?
Yes.
Finally?
Yep.
All right,
you have that. You have that. The best part is they said in the official press release, it says like smoother frame rates, and I'm like, well, yeah, I hope it's more than 5.
Smoother.
What does smoother mean? Like, it doesn't say 60 FPS. It just says smoother.
Jesus Christ!
It's gonna be Bloodborne.
I saw. Shut your fucking mouth. I saw. Rare go. Oh, and it's like 4K, resolution or whatever. I'm like 4K, but like,
do I want that?
That's great, but. There's like a shader, you know what I mean?
Yeah, those 4 blocks that make up that level look amazing.
Exactly. No.
But I'm still excited to play GoldenEye. I'm excited for that nostalgic moment. Dope and excited because it's on Game Pass. I don't have to pay for it, etc. But like the idea that it was going to somehow be the game for the fall, no, it's going to be the game for the few days, and I'm going to enjoy it. And I'm glad it's back. And game preservation is important. Yada yada yada. Nintendo Switch Online's a joke. It's a joke. And I don't have patience for it.
The weird thing I saw someone post on Twitter too is that apparently the Switch version and the Xbox version are actually built off of 2 different games. That the Switch one is like a remastering of the N64 one, and the Xbox one was the 360 version, which was built off a different code or something. And I was like, what in the hell is going on with this game? Like,
I heard that too.
So but trust me. Keep the nostalgia in your head, enjoy it, remember the memories you had with GoldenEye, and move on. Because I set my sons up to play that game a few years back, and they lasted all of 5 minutes, and I couldn't blame them at all. I was watching, I was like, oh my God, is this what I used to love? Like, what is this? It's not good.
It's the perfect Game Pass experience because you're going to get your nostalgic vibe. No, I disagree with you wholeheartedly. You're going to get those vibes. You're going to hear that music. It's going to be fun. You're going to watch the camera spin. And you're going to enjoy for a bit, and then you're going to want to move on to something else. And that's okay. But I would not advise anyone to spend money on it. And maybe we're all wrong, but I don't think we are.
No,
we're not.
No. I will say, you know how sorry. Oh, now maybe
don't take my thunder. It's my time to call.
I know. You know how big this was, though? My brother, who is not a gamer whatsoever, he's like, he just texted me, GoldenEye, we're getting it.
So a lot of disappointed people, including your brother.
Yeah, well, he's used to being disappointed. Yeah.
No, back on there. All right. Yeah. Guys, let's talk about the PlayStation State of Play. Okay. And I do want to get out ahead of one part. Ains, you're trying to stay content dark on God of War.
I am.
I don't know how to have a conversation fully without talking about it, but you want to start this conversation?
Just don't describe the trailer, like what happens. That's all. You can talk about it myself.
I haven't watched it myself.
I was just really surprised Kratos gets shot right in the heart.
Yeah.
As long as Chief did it, it don't matter to me.
There you go.
It was Phil Spencer.
It was Phil Spencer. We knew it.
Okay. I've not watched the trailer myself because I, too, am trying to stay content light. Not necessarily dark, but light. Nonetheless, I did see a few glimpses, and I was very excited for what I saw. I
was going to say, I can go through. I've got the list in order.
Go on the trophy room Twitter if you want to stay completely dark.
If I can go through what was announced during the show, because there's not a ton of games, but there's some good ones here.
Sure. Are you looking on Season Gaming or a different website?
Yeah, Season. We have a recap. So Tekken 8 was the first game, which looks. I'm not even a huge Tekken fan, and that looks incredible. And
yeah, that looks really good.
Yeah,
what's with the roided out versions of fighters though? Street Fighter and Tekken.
Yeah. So they came out. Capcom came out and said it's Unreal 5. That was all real time. That was shown in the trailer, part of the story mode. Apparently, there's nothing reused from Tekken 7. I think that's what I know about it. I think there's a few more details. So, but this is like ground up built for new gen Tekken 8.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Looks great. Yeah. And if this is what you want to show when you own Evo, so
100%. Good point. Then they jumped into 2 PSVR demos, including the Star Wars Tales from the Galaxy's Edge Enhanced Edition and Demio, which is a popular game on Meta right now, if you're not familiar.
Yep. It's huge. I was very, like, they got me on the Galaxy's. It looks bad, but like, I'm a Star Wars dummy, so I'm gonna get it. Demio was actually the one I was like, oh crap, really? They got that? Awesome, because Demio I hear nothing but great things about. So like if you're a lover of like dungeon role-playing games and D&D, this is literally that, but in VR. Awesome.
Yeah, I'm into. I think we've talked before. Like I'm excited for VR too. And by the way, another thing we got this week separately was the big outlets got their hands on with VR 2, and they talked about it a little bit. So it looks
very impressive so far from what I've gathered. This is a serious piece of tech. Yeah.
Yep.
For you too, because I've never ever put on a VR headset ever.
Okay. Sure.
I don't have much interest in it. Is VR 2 is it going to balance between approachability and an improved experience? Do you think it'll catch on with more people, catch VR overall on with people?
Software depends on the software.
Yeah. It depends on the games they're making, but like it has promise. I mean, VR is getting more popular, but will it break through the mainstream? I don't know.
Well, remember, you have to have a PS5 to play this one, right? Whereas like Meta, you can buy and play.
And they raised the price. Oh my God, guys, they raised the price of the PS5 while we were away. How dare they, dude? How dare they? Pieces of shit.
$70 games. Not a Game Pass.
Not Game Pass. They raised the price on it.
Raise the price.
I hate them, dude. Like I hate Sony now. Like
it's true. By the way, they also up their manufacturing and have sold every single one they've made. So
no shit.
And I think they changed the design to where the thing's cheaper to ship and cheaper to move, and they're making more money off the units.
I've really bad business. I when we were critical about that on the trophy room, I was just like, hey, anybody, let me know. Like, has this deterred you? You know, is whatever. And a lot of people are like, no, still getting it. Like the one thing that again, like we often miss when we're outside I don't know, it got off, whatever. The main topic, but the one thing that we forget is because we're PlayStation 5 owners and we're so in it that this price means a big deal to us. A lot of these retailers, the way they sell these things are through bundles. So like they're just tacking on all these controllers. So it doesn't seem to hurt them because they're all being sold through bundles anyway. It's crazy. I don't know. That's just me. Sorry. I pulled this away.
No, you're fine. I was actually. Well, this is a good comment here from Token Aussie. He says regarding GoldenEye multiplayer, it's the Nintendo 64 emulation that they use, so the online multiplayer will be split screen.
Cool.
Which I had not. Is that I hadn't heard that? So if that's true, that's crazy.
What?
Oh boy,
man.
This deal gets worse all the time.
I'm gonna put cardboard squares up on my 80-inch OLED just to make it feel like the old days.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something, Switch Online people. Don't ever come after me and my Xbox setups here, me like an infinite or whatnot. You're over here like
There are plenty of things that we can talk about with each ecosystem that they need to work on. Online's Switch fine on Xbox. If you play on the Switch, we're good on Xbox. Leave it alone.
Yeah, they just added Discord and over. Meanwhile, Switch Online's like they got the paper cups and the string. We'll mail you a cup, but we're not providing the string.
No, string is extra.
That's right.
You better get that family plan to get some string.
That's right.
That's right.
All right. Next was a great announcement, which Dan went bonkers for, which is that Like a Dragon Ishin is coming west. It's a ground up remake.
And multi-plat. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm cutting you off. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. If you let me finish the fucking sentence, I could actually read what it says. So basically, this was weird because during State of Play, we got Like a Dragon Ishin, right, which is coming west. It's coming to all multi-platform, as you just said. It's coming in February. But then during the RGG studio stream the following day, we found that there's multiple new Yakuza games, even though they're not called Yakuza anymore. There's multiple new Yakuza games coming. So, but the State of Play, we got the Ishin trailer.
Looks great though.
Looks good. Yeah.
Looks really are any of them exclusive?
No, not that I saw. Someone can correct me.
That's an exciting idea because of the idea of losing others like Final Fantasy and such, and learning that Yakuza or its now likeness are staying multi-platform. To me, that's an encouraging sign that Xbox continues to push for Japanese developed games.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
CCS Gordon.
Gecko Gamer in the house. What's up, dude? Then they showed this is kind of funny and ironic given the conversation. They showed Hogwarts Legacy, specifically the quest that is exclusive to PlayStation. That is not going to be
inadequate quest.
That's right.
So they showed that they literally took time out of their State of Play to show a quest that is only on PlayStation for Hogwarts Legacy. Then they showed a game called Pacific Drive. They like to plug in these games from newer developers. So it's this is a weird sentence to say. It's a first-person survival driving game. That's what it's described as. So you're in a car surviving I guess, post-apocalyptic, I don't know what. But that's up. Then they talked about the digital collectibles that you can get through PlayStation.
It looked like Death Stranding meets Mad Max, if that made any sense.
That sounds enticing.
That's the elevator pitch, because you just see this guy walk into a gas station, and then all of a sudden there's like a storm, and he's running and getting in his car and driving and just trying to dodge all types of debris.
Sounds like I'll never play it, but that's a better pitch than survival driving.
It looks like a great game for a PS Plus month.
Yeah,
that's
there you go.
It excited me, So
did it? Okay, that's good because it didn't sound exciting. So okay,
he's a.
I'm a Sony pony. I love. Maybe if I comment on enough Jim Ryan tweets, he'll notice me sometime.
It's a really adequate statement you made.
Yeah.
We're not funny, Ains. We're just kidding.
I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for the punchline, but PlayStation Stars, digital collectibles. Does anyone care about this?
No one.
No, I can screenshot.
What was this about? What was this about? Why?
I don't know. Grace, I said this during our stream. They gotta fix. They gotta fix their presenter game, because they gotta bring me into a locale. Don't bring me into a dark room with you. Like PlayStation does. Jim Ryan's in this weird dark draped room. Same with Grace. It's like, what am I about to be murdered, or why are you trying to sell me?
Hearing nothing but meows in the background.
Exactly. Like Apple, they'll be like, here's the garden in Apple Land. It's like, oh, this is nice. And then they'll zoom up to someone in a cool capsule, and there's like something CG and it explodes behind them. Like, that's cool. Don't give me this weird behind an Applebee's type of, thing.
Yeah, it is weird. Yeah.
The lighting is off.
Even the Xbox one, they use like almost like a fake E3 stage, right? Where they stand on and do the background. Like,
you're a multi-billion-dollar company.
Yeah. They
put some wacky shit behind you.
I don't know what this digital collectible. People in the chat saying the same thing. It looks like some type of scrapped NFT approach they were going to take, maybe before all the fallout happened and outrage happened with NFTs. Maybe this was in development for a while. Who knows? But that's coming. Back to the games, they then showed a game called Sin Duality, which is a new IP from Bandai Namco coming next year. You can look at the trailer for that one. It's you and an AI partner in the post-apocalyptic world of Amasia, whatever that is. Amasia sounds like American Asia combined. I don't know if that's what they're going for. Stellar Blade is the new name for Project Eve, right? And we found out that this is being now a console exclusive to PlayStation coming next year, PS5.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Looks good.
It does.
And we knew about Project Eve, but it's not Parasite Eve related, correct?
No.
Not that I'm aware of. And it was announced for Xbox as well. So something happened with the development of this where PlayStation maybe stepped in and said, hey, it looks like you need help. We can help fund it. But, you know how that goes. We were just talking about it. So
yeah,
it is now an exclusive.
And it looks great. It looks very like Devil May Cry-esque. I love the parry system. But and we mentioned this on the trophy room. The boob physics, fellas. Come on.
Was it Dead or Alive style? Shaking.
It's like someone thinks that boobs are like water beds. Yeah. The slightest movement. Blah, 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 blah.
Dreamcast physics right there.
Exactly. And we all like just if you're going to animate boobs, at least like, touch them. You know what I mean? Get a reference.
We
all know they animate like bags of sand.
Bags of sand.
Mm-hmm.
Did they end it with a God of War, Ains?
I've got two more. So they quickly showed Fatal Frame, the horror game coming to PS4, PS5 next year. And then the other big one that was shown, obviously besides God of War, I thought anyway, was Rise of the Ronin, which is from Team Ninja. This is another console exclusive coming in 2024. They're already way out there. But it's between, is it Wolong, I believe? And Fallen Dynasty and Rise of the Ronin. It looks like Team Ninja's trying to make a big comeback here. But, they make, if you like hardcore action games, Team Ninja's always been great at that. So it looked cool.
Yeah, I really think they're back on the rise, man. I think Neo and Neo 2 have been so stellar for them. They're a fantastic team. Wulong gets me really excited because of the pedigrees that are behind that project. This game really looks like they're like, what if we just put like some weird Sekiro like mantling or hook shots with an Assassin's Creed game? Let's do that. Let's get a little weird with it. I'm so in on this. This looks really cool. It's a point in history that is us Westerners we totally ignore, but it is so fascinating. Like, yeah, the slow dying of the Ronin to like the modernization of Japan and all that. Like, awesome time period to dive into and tell interesting stories in. So I'm rooting for this one for sure.
Yeah, me too. And it made me curious when I saw this around Team Ninja itself, because I haven't looked it up. I don't know how many developers they are, how big of a studio they are, but immediately I thought they're not that big, and maybe that's wrong. But they're not that big. I would assume that Wolong is further along than we maybe thought, because that's why this is 2024, right? Get Wolong out maybe early next year, and then you've got your whole studio a year and a half or so to finish this up, assuming it even releases in 2024, right? And then they end with they're going to be selling a God of War Ragnarok controller, a DualSense, coming later this year. And of course, the God of War Ragnarok story trailer came out, which everyone has told me is incredible. I've heard fantastic things about it, but like I said, I'm completely dark on God of War. You don't have to sell me on this game. I just want to experience it when I get it.
I will say, I will not describe the trailer. I will say there are very cool things that are said that teases the mind of the possibilities. And for me, as like a big God of War 2018 stand, We were talking big cast months ago of like, when we say like a game's a masterpiece or perfect, it's not perfect.
Right.
Some our favorite games have flaws. And the one flaw with God of War was just like a lot of the enemies were samey, or bosses were many of them.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
This one very much seems like no. We're gonna have quite a few. Mm-hmm. So
cool.
The variety is there. I'm digging where this game is going, and as stated prior, before I thought like, hey man, putting this game against the Elden Ring, that's a lot of expectations for this thing.
Yeah.
At the end of that trailer, I'm like, yeah, okay. If there's any game that could do it, it's this one. Like this one looks like a contender, and it just, to me, this game is going to be massive. I just wonder what the sales are going to be like for this game, because it's
going to be phenomenal, I'm sure. Yeah. The game of the year thing is going to be interesting, because I was talking in our Discord to a few people, and I'm an Elden Ring stan, and I said, honestly, God of War would have to move so far away from its formula to beat Elden Ring for me personally, because Elden Ring was such a unique, grand experience, something like I haven't experienced in gaming in many years. And I don't think it's fair to put that on Ragnarok, because that's not what it's going for, right? It's a different game. That does not mean in any sense that, one, it's not going to be another masterpiece, or two, can't win game of the year, because it's coming out at the right time.
Yes.
Narratively, it's going to be recency bias, right? Narratively, we know that these types of games do extremely well when it comes to critical ratings and award shows, right? And it's probably going to be the more, I guess it's fair to say, refined experience to players than an Elden Ring, right? So it wouldn't surprise me at all if this comes in and takes Game of the Year.
I think it's still Elden Ring.
I do not think it's Elden Ring. I think God of War is going to take it.
I'm pretty adamant. Like,
I love Elden Ring as well. I mean,
if you look at critical ratings, right? I don't think, even if God of War is spectacular, again, do you think it gets a 96 meta?
I do not think it gets a 96 meta. I think it's getting a 94, 95. And I'm not saying that to be like nitpicky. I think some people, critical reviewers, are going to tag it because it's a sequel and it has a lot of the same things as its first one.
Well, I know it's a $70 DLC, Luke. We all know that.
Yeah, dude, I'm not buying. I'm boycotting this day 1, day 2, day 100.
You know what?
I am boycotting it. I'm buying the $250 edition.
I think I bought that one too. I bought one of the whatever got the hammer. I got the hammer.
One. Yeah.
I wanted the hammer. So. I only caught clips of the trailer. I didn't stick in with the story or anything, but the end was a quote, and I thought that quote. Joe, do you know what I'm speaking of?
I know. I probably know the quote because everyone wrote it on Twitter about 1,000 times.
Correct. Okay, so I didn't want to ruin anything for you about death.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. That's
okay. Then may I share it? Because I want to reference that.
That's the only thing I know.
Okay, so there's a quote at the end of the trailer with this just incredible performance by Judge. Oh gosh, I'm
Judge. I know what you mean, Christopher
Judge.
Judge.
Chris Judge, thank you. And when he says, "Death can have me when it earns me,"
earns me.
It was quintessential Kratos, but the evolved version that we got in God of War 2018, and something about that quote, and perhaps this is just me projecting, but I genuinely listened to that quote. Seeing that moment, it took me back to the entirety of God of War 2018, the entire journey we went on. And that quote alone just took me places. And I was like, yes, the writing here is coming correct. I'm excited for it. This is the tone I want from God of War Ragnarok. And I was in.
Yeah.
And I'm like Ains and many others trying to stay fairly quiet on God of War because I know I want it. I know I'm going to play it.
The other line to me, because like that one's the badass one that you put on Twitter. There was another quote though that I absolutely loved. That it was always something I was thinking when I think of Kratos. So again, not to spoil anything for Ants. So that one I'm like, oh, I wonder where they're going with that arc. That's going to be very interesting, and I think the main arc as well, because I think that line as well, like leans into what I think the end of this game is gonna kind of be.
God of War 2018 ended with a wonderful reveal that we won't spoil for people that are interested. But that reveal, I'm curious to know how public they make that reveal when God of War Ragnarok comes out.
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah, like how they open with the game with it.
Correct. Yeah. Like, will it be public knowledge?
Yeah.
Versus the kind of quiet secret that it is.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Luke. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I'd say it's so funny because once you know the reveal, it's right there. It was there in the first moments of God of War 2018 and such. And it's neat because you get that beautiful hindsight, but how do you address it in a sequel? Sometimes that damages the magic. It's like finding out that Darth Vader is Luke's father. Once you know, that moment is gone. You can never have it again. But I'm curious how they handle that.
Yeah, I think I know you guys, we've joked about this before. You guys are higher on God of War than me. And I know others that are lower on it than me. I kind of sit in the range of it's an incredible game. It deserved all the accolades it got. I just don't think it's, one of the greatest games of all time. I'm not there for a number of reasons. But one of the reasons I thought is that the performances in that game are extraordinary. Christopher Judge is amazing. I mean, they're fantastic. But I thought that, and you're right, the kind of twist or whatever you want to call it at the end it was like, oh, like that kind of took everyone back. And you're like, oh God, where's this going to go? And that is what excites me probably the most about Ragnarok, is that I don't mind if the whole reused assets thing conversation drives me nuts. I don't give a shit. Okay. Yeah. The game looks like, go back and play 2018 on your PS5. It still looks freaking incredible. And what I want to see is enemy variety, as we've talked about. I want to see them move a little more away. I've told you guys this, from the PlayStation formula, right? Get a little more unique with God of War than all of your other PlayStation first party titles, which kind of have similar menus and upgrade systems, and get a little more unique with it. But the thing I want to see most is exactly what you alluded to, which is, okay, you're right, we're not going to have that. Well, we don't know. Now that we know that shock, I hope that allows them to flesh out a story that is more from beginning to end than the first game. One of the problems I had with the first game is that you're on this journey and it builds and you meet characters along the way. I don't want to downplay it. What's his name? Mimir is incredible. I love that.
Mimir.
But not a lot of characters. It's a very small cast.
Yeah, and it builds, and then kind of like right at the end, right, you get this payoff, which is awesome. But when you reflect on the whole journey, right, it's like there could have been, like, it was all here. You know what I mean? Like, there wasn't a whole lot here. And I'm like, with Ragnarok, they now have the capability to make it a full breadth story that's really pulls you in all the way through the game. And I'm really hoping that they've nailed that.
Yeah.
It's funny because I couldn't tell you. I put a lot of time into Elden Ring. Not as much as you, Ains, of course, but like significant time, right? I believe I was well over 100 hours. I don't know a thing that happened in that story. And I played it. I paid attention. I was there, but it was so complex in the way that it told the story versus, say, God of War. What's that?
It's a From game.
Yes, correct. And I believe the word I kept using when we did cast back then was obtuse. That obtuse approach meant a very different story experience for me than a God of War, than some of the other third-person games. I'm currently in Cyberpunk right now, which is a first-person experience that I'm told is all about the story. It's good. It's really good, but it feels like
I do have a bone to pick with you on that.
Okay. Give me 1 sec. So I don't know. Never mind. I lost my point. I think Cyberpunk.
I'm sorry.
Is basically Rage 2 and Watch Dogs together. I think it's like the merge. They're basically the same game.
And I like Watch Dogs, but that still makes me cringe.
I knew it would, but I'm not even trolling you when I say it feels like I'm playing Watch Dogs and Rage 2 kind of merged together with a quality up. And I'm liking it. I really like it. But like, I'm hacking, I'm planning out my hacks, I'm shooting stuff, I have really good gunplay. The driving feels exactly like Rage 2, which is weird to think about because I never thought I'd think about that game again. It is weird. But I like the game. It's really good, Ains. Like, I'm genuinely not dissing it as I make this funny analogy.
No, I know. But and I know you and I, actually, three of us have talked about this not only on this show, on other shows and DMs and everything. But I really struggle, and I'm not picking on you, Luke, so don't take it personally.
Yeah.
But I really struggle when we talk about, I'm trying to think the best way to word this. You're talking about a game, right? Which is a certain experience.
I know where you're going with this.
It's a Western RPG, right? And generally speaking, Western RPGs are expansive, long games.
Yes.
And you have to invest into them.
Correct.
If you don't, right? Like you're 8 hours in, which, and I hate this statement just as much as you guys do, where it's like, well, it gets really good after 30 hours, right?
Right.
But we have to face the reality that they build these experiences to be 60, 80, 100-hour games. And that the arcs of all the stories you take in that city, the characters you meet, Johnny Silverhand.
Love his performance.
This is my point, though, right? You haven't seen anything yet. Like, there's so much more that happens with Johnny Silverhand to where at the end of that game, there's a scene, and I won't spoil it for you, but there's a scene where it's just you and him, and you're reflecting on everything that's occurred prior in the game. And I sat there looking at my TV, and I was like, I didn't even like Johnny Silverhand at the start because he's kind of a dick. And I was like, I'm a few hours in, and I was like, I'm not really digging Keanu's character here. Like, he kind of annoys me more than anything. By the end of that game, now we're talking 130 hours because you know how I play games.
Sure.
I'm sitting there in front of my TV looking at it. I'm like, he's legitimately one of my favorite gaming characters of all time. Like,
cool.
Because of the journey you take. So the point I'm getting to here is I find it really hard for comments like you made where it's like, I'm 8 hours in and I'm not seeing the impressiveness of this. And my thought is,
what made it special? What made it special? Right.
And my first thought, as soon as I read that, was, well, of course not. You haven't experienced what's special about it yet. And I think we have to separate the time from what makes these games special. Like, I think if you know this is a Western RPG and it's an 80-hour game, right? You have to know that to find out what makes it special, you're going to have to put 80 hours into it. And that is not even like, I'm not even saying you have to play it all. I'm just saying that you're not going to understand what's special about it if you don't do that. It's and an analogy I always make, which I know we've talked about before, is like a movie, right? It's like think of your favorite movie, whatever that is. I'm sure it's Justice League or, like the 4-hour Justice League, right? Snyder's, we'll pimp it out for you. So think of the arcs that you take with those characters in that movie, right? And how it culminates. Or I don't know it as well as you guys do at all because you talk about, but like whatever happened with Avengers and the whole MCU arc, right?
Sure.
Imagine like you guys, I see people all the time, like you guys talk about Infinity War, right? And the culmination that built to over time, right? Well, someone could watch the first 10 movies of the MCU, right? Not watch the other, how many? Like 23 or something? 24?
Sure.
In the real MCU.
Oh,
no,
boy.
it's a dumb thing.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're correct.
The point I'm making is like, you get 20% through and watch a couple Iron Mans. I'm making this up as I go. But you know where I'm going, right?
Yeah.
You do that and you're like, I don't see why people are so excited about Infinity War or why this is so special. It's like, well, you haven't experienced the full arc of what the creator, the developer was going for to make you feel special about it.
I think you're making good points. I know Joe wants to get in but I think you're making a very good analogy with that. But I think there's a difference between our discussions about what makes a game special, like the top tier. Because mind you, I'm enjoying Cyberpunk a lot. I'm really liking it. And the discussions we've had about you can't have an opinion on a game because you haven't experienced it. It's like, yo, dog, I played 8 hours. I can have an opinion, Like,
I know I've been harder lined on that in the past. Like, I think you can have I think what I've said before, you can have an opinion, you can't review it.
And I don't agree with that to a point. To a point, like there's a line, right? There is a subjective line of like Joe's being real weird. You can be you can have an opinion on something, you can have impressions of something, review impressions, but I don't think you can call it a finality thing. I think if you're reviewing it, you do need to have finished it. That is important to call it a true review. But if you're upfront with your audience, you're talking about impressions, you want to have an opinion on it, yes, you can play a fraction of it and discuss that. That to me is different than saying, I don't get why it's special. Because those are two different statements. I think I can have an opinion on Cyberpunk now. I'm 8 hours in.
You can have an opinion on it for sure. But I to your original point, which I think is valid. No. I'm just going to say I think Luke was right in saying that different things make different games special. Mm-hmm. And I don't think Cyberpunk has an incredible atmosphere. I mean, I really love Cyberpunk, but games can have certain aspects that make them special. And the thing I think that is most special about Cyberpunk are the relationships in the game that you have, because how it structures it is each main character that you meet, you mm-hmm. get a set list of kind of story missions with that character, mm-hmm. and each one has its own arc, right? Yeah. Beginning to end with that character. That, and then Johnny overlaps the whole game mm-hmm. on top of all of that. So that's kind of what makes it special. And the problem is, to your point, is that to really experience all that, you got to put a ton of time into it. Where, say, a game like we were just talking God of War, for example. Now, of course, that does have something special, like we were talking about with the story, but you can kind of feel other aspects that are special about that game, right? The way it's presented, the cinematics in that game, the way it feels for that to hold the axe in combat. You know, it depends on the type of game, I think. So I think that's valid.
And I'll tell you what, if there was I'm playing the 1.6 version. If this thing was bugging out on me, I'd be done. And that to me is telling of how the experience that others got from it, because I'm really enjoying my experience. Like, I really am. But if it was bugging and breaking and taking forever to load, or it was popping in so badly, it removed me real hard from it, because it does rely on that narrative. Joe, you've been really patient, bud.
Yeah, I've been falling asleep.
Yeah, and I got two more things to say. One, it depends. It also depends what you as a player appreciate, right?
Sure.
Some people are going to appreciate fast combat, whatever that is, right? Or looks for you. Some people are going to appreciate 100-hour narrative arc with a character. Mm-hmm. Depends what you like. Lastly, Gogol says, it's like RDR2. The gameplay epilogue really makes the game, but few get that far. So sad. Agreed. RDR2 is a GOAT. Go ahead, Jeff.
I got to the epilogue. I just wanted it to end.
I'm going to mute you now. You've talked too much already.
I've been. Here's the thing. I want to apologize about Red Dead Redemption 2, because one person on our podcast like, Joe, you really shit on that game, but like when it's like Last of Us 2, you're like, please end the conversation. I don't want to hear it anymore. But you always bash Red Dead 2, and I'm like, I get it.
This is why you're Mr. Bad Take. It's fine.
Well, no, because here's the thing. Actually, I think this is a great example. I don't like Red Dead Redemption. I love Red Dead Redemption.
Okay.
It's one of my favorite games of all time.
Yes.
I was ranked number like 200 something in the world in the online portion. I loved that game. Hundreds of God knows how many hours into it. I don't like Red Dead Redemption 2. I think the game is way too far up its own ass with a story that's not ambitious whatsoever. It's just trying to tell me the movie Tombstone, right? I beat Red Dead Redemption, or almost beat Red Dead Redemption. I put it down. I put 40 plus hours in that game. I don't like that game.
Two. Okay.
I like that game.
I'm sorry I brought it up already.
No, but that being said, I can still give it, like, there are some arcs that are incredible. Like when you're with the Native Americans, that arc is awesome. That's what I wish this entire game was.
Charles is awesome.
The open world is phenomenal. Just how rich it is and dense it is with just little things. Awesome. Burning Ku Klux Klan members alive. Awesome. Fantastic. The mansion scene, that's kind of where it should have been.
Legendary.
Great. There are moments that are great. We can have, I think, layered conversations, even when I'm just like, at the end of the day, this didn't jive with me. I could still find that there are great elements in it, and still find praise to share for it.
It's like Last of Us 2 for a lot of people.
Yeah, and
Gavin.
Oh,
it's a Red Dead 2 joke. Don't worry. Carry on.
All right, fair enough. I thought it was like a person. I was like, hey, Gavin.
No, you didn't. You might not have met him in the game. There's a character in Red Dead 2 you can find in a city who is randomly in the city, and he's looking for his brother named Gavin.
Yes.
And he says, can you help find him? And you keep running into him throughout the game, and he's just yelling, Gavin. Gavin?
Yeah, I remember that dude now you're saying it. So like, yeah, like the world's incredible, but like there are games where to me, when I'm playing a game and it's not hooking me and I'm 8 hours in, I can drop that. Now I could mess around and be like, bad game, whatever. We're just joking around as friends. But that's not it. To me, if I'm 8 hours into a game and I'm not connecting with it, and I got 92 more hours to go, that game then is just not for me. Yeah. Which is what Cyberpunk is at the end of the day. Okay. Game's not for me, and I think what ruined it for me was the allure of the promise of what Cyberpunk was going to be, and it just wasn't. I was expecting the second coming of Christ because CD Projekt Red was selling me the second coming of Christ. Seeing what they've done with Witcher 3, I was looking for something more ambitious in that space, and it was more of a safe bet for me. That said, you know, there are games like Skyrim that hook me the first 5 minutes and I'm in for the next 100+ hours. And there are games that do that. There are games that don't. I understand some games need to take time, but man, if I'm 8 hours in, that's a lot. Because like for me, it's like not every MCU movie hits, but god damn do I love Black Panther or like, you know, Civil War or Winter Soldier. And I don't like Black Widow, but that doesn't ruin the entire experience because there are so many great films there for me to enjoy. That's all I gotta say on the matter, because really what I want to talk to you guys about, because you went on way too long of a tangent, is something here. All right, guys, have you seen this? Have you heard about this? There were other showcases. We got the Marvel and Disney showcase, and then the Ubisoft showcases. And when I was doing the show notes
Tokyo Game Show.
Oh yeah, and Tokyo Game Show. But trust me, walk with me here.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm walking with you. I'm on a journey.
When we're talking about these showcases, I typed it up here when it comes to everything notable, and I said PlayStation related on the Marvel and Ubisoft showcases, but you could put Xbox related in there, and it's going to be a similar list. Marvel Midnight Suns coming December 2nd. This is the Disney showcase. Yep. Captain America and Black Panther Skydance game. Finally talk about it. Yay. These two are pretty much the only big things at that showcase. When it comes to when it comes to Ubisoft, we got some Tom Clancy games. We got a lot of Assassin's Creed gifts. But what we saw a ton of from both of these showcases are mobile games.
Yep.
Phones. I want to know what you thought of the showcase, Ains. I want to know what your thoughts on them hanging on to mobile, showcasing it to us, because I don't think we're the audience for it. And is this one of those red flags that we should kind of get a little nervous for in the coming years?
Well, your first point I would generally agree with. Obviously they have data and analytics and study who watches these things, but Hogue made a similar point on Bigcast on Sunday, which was your audience that is tuning in to your showcase on Twitch or YouTube, like we do, right, are not your mobile gamers. At least it wouldn't seem as though, right? We don't know. But it wouldn't seem as though. So why are you not focusing on kind of your big AAA projects or your other projects and then doing a separate showcase or some type of presenting your mobile experiences separately somehow? I don't know what that looks like. Should we worry about this as a kind of a red flag or like a harbinger, if you will? Maybe a little bit. It depends on your personal preferences. But I tend to live like I'm old. I joke all the time, and I've lived through a bunch of stuff. And at this point, I just kind of like accept things as they are because you can't change it. And the fact is that mobile is going to be a huge focus for gaming. It already is, obviously, but it's a growing focus for the companies that traditionally have not focused on mobile that we're aware of, right? Like Xbox is taking one approach to it. Obviously, we've been talking about that for a few years. PlayStation is investing heavily into it. In fact, they acquired a company recently to focus on mobile. They are upping their investment into mobile. Nintendo commented on mobile and talked about their investment in mobile in their recent fiscal report that I reported on. So these companies that we've grown and loved and, play with every day in terms of the big three from a console maker perspective, all three are investing in the mobile space. This is partially why I write more about Xbox than I do the other two. Is one, they're just more open with information. But two, that they the way that they're focusing on ecosystem, which is a word I've used a million times, is more interesting to me because they are attacking the mobile market from a different approach, which is the mobile experience should match your console or PC experience, and play those games rather than developing dedicated mobile games, which is, we'll see how that works long term. So that's a long-winded way to say that, yeah, you're going to see this. The developers that you've seen only make console games or only make PC games, AAA games for years, are investing more into mobile than they ever have. I don't think it's necessarily a negative, though, because the pie's bigger. So the money in the gaming industry is bigger than it's ever been. It continues to grow more than 10% year over year, which is a fantastically large growing industry, if you look across different industries. And so even like with PlayStation, right, I tell people this all the time, by 2025, 45% of their investment is going into PC and mobile, which if you say that to a PlayStation hardcore fan who doesn't follow this stuff, they're like, the hell are you talking about? You know what I mean? It sounds like they're giving up on PS5. But then I tell them, but the 55% that they're investing in the PS5 and PSVR 2 is more money than they're investing right now or than they were investing in the PS4 and PS5. So you see what I mean? Like the pie is growing. So even though more money is getting into mobile, it doesn't mean they're necessarily subtracting developers or talent or investment into the games we, for lack of a better word, hardcore.
So I should try to kind of control the urge to hurl myself off a cliff.
No, I didn't say that.
Watching these things.
No, we still want you to do
that. Yeah, I didn't. Don't put words in my mouth. I mean,
and just a future proof.
If you're on the edge of the cliff and you're having thoughts, I mean, do what you got to do. But no, I don't even want to joke about that. That's I'm gonna.
No, I joked about Luke having COVID on the show and like it taking him out.
Yeah, and I think anyone who watches this show with the three of us hopefully knows what
I felt like I was gonna get canceled. Because I did even say condolences for Hillary in advance.
And you just told me to jump? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Weird.
So anyway,
I got a text saying, "Do it, you coward."
Yeah, this is weird.
Bet you don't have the stones to do it. Wow.
Yeah. Do a flip. What? I'll tell
have a GoPro on.
Mobile and VR and anything else, Nintendo maybe? I'm not sure. I do not get mad that they exist. I am continuously confused that they are put into mainstream showcases, but I recognize they want articles written and such and people to talk about it because, like, yeah, sure, I might there's a Cyberpunk related mobile game. I might download that and play for a few minutes, but that's never my device. Yeah. It'll never be my device, and it's not my.
I'm not the audience,
right? Nor is VR at this point in time for me. That's not to say I wouldn't, and maybe Xbox makes one or links up with Meta or whatever it is. Maybe I am if I can get achievements and stuff, but it's just not for me. And I don't get mad that it exists, but because I'm not as old as Zane's, but I'm getting to the point where I don't listen. You know what I mean? Like I'm just like whatever. Vote for who you're an idiot. Whatever.
Okay. I don't get mad. The I don't give a shit attitude only gets worse.
Yeah, but sometimes I think it's healthy. You need that sometimes to detach yourself from being upset. You can't be angry all the time.
No, it's very tiresome, very anxiety ridden, whatever. Right. Awful.
Yeah.
Okay. So we talk about these showcases. We shouldn't hurl ourselves off of buildings.
Breath of the Wild 2.
Did you guys play this? Sorry, before you got there, I was going back to Disney. Did you guys play this Dreamlight Valley?
No.
I don't ask that sarcastically because I haven't played it either. But the way Travis reviewed it for IGN and Hogue was playing it with his daughters, and the way they were talking about it was that this is going to be one of those mega billion-dollar IPs in the near future. So if you don't know what this is, and I'll be real quick.
Early access one?
Early access. It's like an Animal Crossing game but with Disney IP, and think of everything Disney owns, as you guys
Prince
well know.
Cash.
You know better than me. So
Yeah.
it has like you can create relationships with Ratatouille, and they're going to have obviously Marvel, and they're going to have Star Wars, and they're going to have all this
Are we
stuff.
fucking Woody?
Relationships?
Yeah, what do you
Like,
mean by
no, like-
relationships?
No, come on, are we fucking Woody?
Well, like, dude, the way you made it sounds like, all right, is Ratatouille
Yeah.
hooking up with Elsa? Are we doing this? Like,
Where's Ratatouille
I
going?
told you I haven't played it, and obviously, if that was happening, I would have played
Disney's
it.
really going for it.
I'm waiting for Disney to man up and make a game like this. No. No, but anyway, and it is set up. It's made by Gameloft, and it's set up with the foundation to have passes and microtransactions and stuff. But they said that it's a lot more meaningful. Like there's more to the game and the management of it than you would think, and that people are already raving about this, and it's early access. So you listen to Big Cast, the way that they made it sound, it was like this game's going to be huge. And if you think of what Disney owns in terms of IPs, forget about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Cool. I had no problem. That's cool. Live and let live. Rock on.
Yeah. Anyway, Nintendo.
A lot of farming stuff. There's like Nintendo. There are just some games where I'm like, how did you get in here? Like there was like
what is it you always say, Joe? Sniffing glue?
Yeah. They're eating glue. I don't get it. I wish I could get it. Like all these games are super weird. I bet they got to be doing something right because everybody loves them. But I saw like, was it Fist of the North Stars, like a dance fighting rhythm exercise game, and it looks awful. Like there's some weird things in there. But like Zelda looks nice, but this console is really showing its age at this point.
Man, can I tell you, everyone talking about how great Tears of the Kingdom looks and stuff, I don't get it. Breath of the Wild it's special, and I know Ains got a hang up on it, but like I felt like that was a special experience. The Switch was new. This was a fresh take on Zelda and whatnot. You're gonna have to really, really bring it to make Tears of the Kingdom stand out in a world where we've now gotten to Elden Ring, God of War, Ragnarok, and so many other experiences, because gaming has continued to evolve, and evolution is not Nintendo's best thing. New things, weird things, yes, but evolving, no. They're hit and miss. So I'm really curious if Tears of the Kingdom
also, hey, stop scrolling through all that pornography.
Yeah, it is really awkward.
It's actually it's Nintendo Direct summary, so I was trying to see what games stand out.
Okay, yeah, nothing.
Pikmin 4 is coming.
Cool. That'll be the first Pikmin game I play if I pick it up.
By the way, please don't bring out Miyamoto, who's an absolute obvious legend in the industry, and say now for the big moment, and then talk about Pikmin. Don't do that to me ever again, please, Nintendo. That was rude, honestly.
A bad game forever is a delayed game tomorrow.
That's right.
So I don't know. This is one of those, just like we were saying, guys. It's just not for me. I am not the audience, and the audience is bigger than I expect every single time for these things. This thing had like the Nintendo Direct official on Nintendo of America's YouTube had millions and millions of views immediately after it finished. It's just not for me. There's not much here at all that interests me.
Can I tell you, I really want to know who's watching it in those quantities. And that's not a diss to the company, but like they market to children. Are kids watching those trailers? Is it bots? Is it recycled scrolls?
Nintendo's out there buying bots to make them look popular.
I don't even mean
we know that's not true because look at their sales. I mean,
right, and I don't mean it in a corrupt way. I'm just curious who's watching it that much. Like they market to kids. The content creators are a small fraction, like the people our age. So who's watching it? Is it Joe's brother? Like, is it the people that I was talking about earlier in the show that Mr. Lore, I did this. Hey, coach, you played this? Like, is it them?
Yeah.
Who?
I'm trying to see how many views it has now. Like
their official one, 4.5 million.
Yeah.
That's also streamed, but 4.5 million.
4.5 million in 2 days. Watch the direct.
And 4 million of just the Legend of Zelda one alone. So again, it's huge. It's huge. So yeah.
And to be clear, I'm not mocking. I'm curious. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I can picture the demographic that's watching a Deathloop trailer or the Ragnarok trailer or Elden. I feel like I can picture it each time in my mind. Who's watching Kirby?
Who's watching Kirby? So I think this is one of those perfect instances. By the way, the State of Play has 1.3 million, so Nintendo has nearly 4 times as many views as PlayStation, which in itself is massive, right? So I think this is one of those perfect instances where our group that we know and love, our guys, the people in the chat, the other shows we watch, the people that we interact with on a daily basis on Twitter and social media and YouTube, we are a absolute microcosm of the gaming industry. Literally, we don't represent hardly anything. And this global market that continues to grow, Nintendo, between the nostalgia, between the kind of age appropriate, whatever word you want to use for that, and the fact that they combined the console and mobile market for the DS and the Wii, if you will, into one unit, they've absolutely crushed it, man. And let's not forget, they not only have IP strength too, but they have this niche. No one is doing what Nintendo's doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They just,
and it brings back to the original topic that we were having is, in the start of the show is maybe when it comes to like Call of Duty leaving, PlayStation finds their niche and capitalizes on it. Because there's something obviously Nintendo's doing right without the big tentpole titles like a Madden or a FIFA or whatever. And there is something between the like what you say, Ains, PlayStation's my exclusive machine. Nintendo's my exclusive machine.
Yeah.
So like there is this future that PlayStation could be just as weird as Nintendo. We're looking at them going like, who's into this? But it's like me and Kyle are into the Bloodborne 2 when it gets revealed.
Yeah, that's a perfect example. Like to us, Bloodborne 2 or a remake, whatever Bloodborne comes, right? We're going to be thinking this is the biggest news we have had in 5 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bloodborne sold 2 million copies.
In 2 weeks.
Well, no one's bought that.
Elden Ring did that in like a day, 2 days.
Shut the fuck up.
No, that's the point Ains is making.
Yeah.
It's like people are gonna act like it's God's gift. It's kind of like us with Halo, maybe. Like Halo's not landing amongst the kids. It's not landing big.
No, Halo has a nostalgic audience as well, but not to the level. Yeah, not like this, right? When you talk about what is it, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is nearing 40 million copies sold. It's a port.
Yeah.
It's a port.
But it's God tier fun.
Oh, I'm not arguing the fun factor of it. I have it for the Wii U. I loved it. But it's just it's nuts what Nintendo does. And I don't think I think they can continue to do that. I think the other thing you were joking, not joking, but around Call of Duty, right? With PlayStation, Joe Dash said a really good comment that I wanted to highlight earlier in the show, which he said, if we see, it could be really good to see PlayStation against a wall. And I completely agree, because that's what woke Xbox up. And the Xbox we have today is literally because, and I've said this many times, right? They got their nose punched in back in 2013, 2014, and they made the changes they needed to make to truly compete. And not that PlayStation's not competing, because they're still number one. But if they feel threatened and they start to invest more, we're going to be the ones that benefit from that. And I love that.
Well, I think we're starting to see that based on how they're handling Square Enix titles, how they're handling commenting on Activision Blizzard. I think we're starting to see back against the wall, or at least stepping back, right? And I'm cool with it. What was it, Joe? It was Captain Logan that messaged us and was saying, like, what's the benefit of buying a game's exclusivity versus buying a studio or a publisher? And it's a matter of the software that's produced.
Yeah. And
the software that's produced, like if the software is being produced and produced well, then it's better to buy the publisher. If not, it's the game that you need. And I look at Nintendo's catalog and the 4 million views and the interest levels of these different things. Like, did anybody know that Tokyo Game Show happened for Xbox?
Nope.
Like, comparatively, no, not at all.
Comparatively, not even close.
Not even close. Deathloop's got a date now. Ni no Kuni remastered is a thing. Danganronpa V3, Assassin's Creed Odyssey's on Game Pass. Does anybody know? Nah. No. And like, those are good announcements on a different week. Those be our main topics,
Yeah, it could be. Yeah.
I do want to. I'm sorry. Are we done with this topic?
I'm fading, boys.
The only thing I was gonna say is if you look at 2022 releases, Nintendo's crushed it. A couple people in the chat have said it too. Whether you not or you like the games, they're the one releasing games.
Good point.
And PlayStation obviously is doing well. They're gonna have God of War and Gran Turismo and Horizon. In the game. Xbox, we've already talked about. They haven't done well this year. But Nintendo's absolutely crushed it this year with releases.
I do want to get to one thing quickly because I want to really pick your brain, Ains, on it. So I don't really give a shit what Luke has to say. We've seen a lot of layoffs today in particular, but of course of this week we've seen Future, which is like Android Central, Windows Central, the Central folks. We've seen G4 massive layoffs. Now we're seeing Fanbyte with some massive layoffs as well. I want to pick your brain because you, sir, own a little site yourself. I want to know where you see this industry going. Why you think this may have been the case. Are you worried for? I've seen a lot of writers kind of worried for the written word when it comes to covering games. Where do you see it going?
Yeah, so first I want to start, and might as well make the announcement here that I'm letting everyone at Season Gaming go.
Tough call.
You hadn't paid me in months.
You haven't produced anything in months.
Dang, that's right.
No, this is in all seriousness. You guys kind of know how I feel about this because I rant about old man stuff like at a cloud, constantly.
Yeah.
But it's really sad to see, and I think that what we're seeing in the gaming journalism space is again a microcosm. I've used that word multiple times now of what we see in kind of journalism in general, which is these media conglomerates are buying up. It's consolidating, right? And you're getting these big media companies that are not in touch with what gaming is to a lot of people or at all. And all they care about, of course, is the bottom line, which it's a business. Like I understand it, right?
Yeah.
But they're, when I talked to Andrew Reiner, he's a good example, right? He's leaving Game Informer, by the way, which is huge news. So when I talked to him about how Game Informer stays relevant and they have a very small crew, I think they had like 16 people, which for such a big publication is very small. But they just got really good at kind of working within their means. And even those means have shrunk over time. And it's just the nature of the type of coverage today. When you think about the last 10 years, what streaming has done, what influencers has done, I hate some of these words, what Twitch has done, YouTube, and the speed at social media. Think of how many accounts you see on social media, right? And I'm not going to name any names, but think of how many accounts you see that when something is announced, the immediate thing they do is they tweet about it with a few pictures and a couple bullet points of what the news is, right? And there's nothing wrong with doing that. But you're not really providing any service. Like you're not adding any journalism aspect. You're not adding any context to what goes on behind the scenes. You don't have any relationship with developers. You don't get any press releases. Do you know what I mean? You're just someone who's literally reposting what was just said somewhere else. But
some sites do that. And you and I literally joked before sometimes we see that's just what it is. It's a repost of the bullet points or the video.
Yep. It's funny. You didn't let me finish my point again.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought you were going to get there today because, it's late.
Well, this is this is not a 1 minute answer. Like this is a complex question.
Here we go. All right.
Jesus. So my point is that so many people now have become so intolerant. Not intolerant is the right word, but they want everything instantly, right? And you see this. Maybe I'm being anecdotal here, but the younger generation, like I look at my kids, right? It's like this is not a joke. I went up to my son the other day. My internet was having issues. My son is in his room. He is playing League of Legends. He's watching someone play League of Legends. He has a YouTube video going on of someone talking about League of Legends. And he has music running. So he has 4 things live streaming at once, right?
Your son has ADHD.
And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? Like,
I see it every day.
And the thing is like, I think people like there's so much information that we get hit with all the time. It's this quick hit, right? Quick hit. And there's very little audience for like a well-written article today. That audience has just shrunk and shrunk and shrunk and shrunk. And at the end of the day, when you put out a piece of content, like I always make fun of Kotaku, right? Like you put out like, this character is gay, well, why you should be angry, you know, whatever stupid headline they're running with for the day. That'll get 5 million views. Whereas an article, and I'm not even trying to point at Season Gaming, but someone, Alicia, wrote an article for us about gaming and medicine and how gaming is being used in medical ways last week, right? An article like that's going to get, you know, a couple thousand views or whatever it is. I haven't even looked, but you know what I mean? It's not going to land on social media with anything because people want to talk about whatever's hot. Look at how many people are talking about Activision and Blizzard for months on end. It's literally been the main topic for months on end. No one's reading an in-depth article about acquisitions and what's actually happening with the lawyers and the details of the case. They're going to YouTube, they're going to Twitter, and they're listening to some guy who knows nothing rant about it for 20 minutes. It's just it's the nature, and I'm not making fun of anyone, by the way. I'm half making fun of us. But it's just the nature of the industry today. There's just not a big audience for it. And I don't think, I said earlier today in a private DM, and this is not a shot at anyone because I really feel for the people who've dedicated their career to this. But when I look at Season Gaming and I look at the way we run it, where I've said many times it costs me money to run it, I'm okay with that because it, one, allows me to do what we do, but two, I don't have to rely on it. I have a career that's out here and I make my money. You know, I obviously support my family and I do well over here. But if Season Gaming gets 10 million hits tomorrow and next week it gets 5, makes no difference to me. It doesn't impact me.
Enthusiast media is the future because it's faster. It's more reliable for brands because people are going to be enthusiastic about their product 9 times out of 10. It took a long time for Xbox shows to turn on Halo. You know what I mean? Like enthusiast media is better for a lot of brands than journalism is. And journalism was never meant to be a profitable experience. It was the live service feeds that turned it into a business. CNN and MSNBC and Fox running breaking news all the time. News can't always be breaking, but they manufactured, they found a way. And how many times do you see a little nugget of information come out and that person, that enthusiast media, is tweeting, going live to talk about this with these many people with us, and they're manufacturing their conversation. And you're right, there is no patience for the real facts to come out, the less juicy story, or the Schreier article or whatnot. Even Schreier's a bad example because he's kind of gone down a road of inflammatory.
We've seen it from some of the big sites. Yeah, to your point. And and on top, what even compounds that worse, I don't know if you agree, but is people for whatever reason have a lower tolerance of listening to people or listening to viewpoints or opinions that they don't agree with. I see so many people who it's like, you know, especially online, we see a lot of the Xbox community in our social space, right? And it's like, well, I'm an Xbox player, so I listen to these shows. And it's like, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that. But it's like, all you're doing is you're hearing the same thing every week. You know what I mean? You're literally in this tiny little echo chamber of things. And half the time, they may not even have things correct. You just think they're correct because the 6 shows that you happen to watch all say the same thing. And that's a very distinct thing. People need to be challenged, and not in an aggressive way, not in the way we see online all the time, which is you're wrong. You know, like, no, like talk. There's no conversing there. And I don't know, man. It's just problematic. I could rant on for a while about it. It sucks to see good people. The last thing I'll say is that I interviewed Jeff Grubb over the weekend, right? And then you saw Jez's comments today. Or maybe you didn't, but he posted a tweet which was like, he's like, look, man, he's like, I have to capitalize on this kind of stuff. Exactly what we're talking about. You have to capitalize on these hot things and things that are going to get hits, because that's the only way. He actually said, I have no other meaningful skills. This is what I do for a living. I need it to work. So this is what I do. And Jeff Grubb told me the same thing. He said, we live in a capitalistic society, and, you know, I have to balance, you know, the information I get and the leaks and the stuff I say with how it impacts developers and stuff. But he said, at the end of the day, I have to do what I have to do to make a living. And that's what gaming coverage is now. It's look at Snitch and The Insider and Tom Henderson and Grubb and all those guys. I'm not putting down what they do at all. I'm just saying that if you look at them, The audience is there because they have information that people want, and they leak it. And, that's not journalism. It's just, that's what people want.
Yeah. I couldn't say it better myself. It's, one of the reasons why we tend to read articles on the trophy room is, to at least give the tip of the hat of like where we're getting our information from, one, and two, so you're becoming as informed as we are when we're having these conversations. That it's we're getting that story down the way it's supposed to be told. We're not missing anything when we're doing that. But you're right, man. Coverage is changing in a really kind of depressing way. Where
it's depressing to me.
Yeah, it really is. It really is sad to see, because there are like look, Jez put out an article that I sort of agreed with, but I also there were things I didn't like or agree with in it, but I read the whole thing and I was just like, okay, that's a viewpoint, that's a perspective. And I feel like, yeah, we are losing that so much of like, you can go and listen to someone you may not agree with or see eye to eye on everything with. That's fine. There are so many amazing writers out there that are not getting their, voices heard because you're right. They're not covering the thing that the majority of folks want to hear.
Yeah, and there's so much good out there too. It sucks. It really sucks.
Yeah.
But we're not going to change
tired.
It, sadly.
He's a little baby. He needs to go sleep. He's not even going to refute it, so you could really say anything. His eyes are super red. His skin is pale white.
The coffin is open.
The coffin's open. There you go. All right. Okay. Anybody? He's got a cough. He's got the COVID cough. We got him. All right, everybody. That's been the show. Luke, is there anything you'd like to? No, you're still going for it,
guys. Everyone tuning in live. Thank you, guys. It's been a while. Like we said, between stuff going on in our live shows, Luke got COVID. It's been a while. Thanks for showing up live. We, we appreciate you hanging out with us. That's about it. Good to be back.
Luke, what say you?
Thanks, guys.
Jesus Christ, I'll plug your show. It's great. He interviewed Seamus Blackley, and then he decided to put it out in the middle of Gamescom. The fool. Jesus, he got too excited. So go check out that interview because it's actually informative and great.
Exactly what we're talking about. Yes.
Exactly.
Informative.
XEP, the Xbox expansion pass, Apple, Spotify, Google Play. You know where to see it. Rated 5 stars, not 4 or 5. And then after you're done doing that, you head on over to the Trophy Room, the PlayStation podcast. We buy the players for the players. Where each and every Thursday, me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest and greatest of all things PlayStation over on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play. You can find me over at Mr. Badbit and PS Trophy Room on Twitter. There you go. And then I'm supposed to fuck this up and keep on with this bit. Keep casting a co-op.